Yes, people, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things you love. Look who I got you. On the day that Daniel Levy promises us titles, promises us Champions League ambitions. One of the links that we've been linked with is Jack Grealish. I couldn't get him, so I brought you Wish's version. Jack Grealish is with us today. Luke from Spotlight on Spurs. How you doing, Lukey? Good to see you, mate.
I'm all good, mate.
By saying Jack in the intro. Start again, take two.
I knew what was coming. I'm sure there's a couple of others that are in the chat would have known what was coming as well. No, I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. Thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it.
No, good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Guys, do me a favour. Smash the granny out of the like button like you always do on this here channel. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. We're on the march to 33k, or I think we're just about to click over, actually. And hit the notification bell. Also, Spotlight on Spurs. Link is in the title, guys. All you got to do is find the title wherever it is on your screen. Click on the @ symbol. Click on the @ link. It will open up a new tab. Get this man over 1,000 subs. If there's a lot of people here tonight, there's 150 people here so far, give or take. If we can get, if the numbers come in, I need to see Lukey get Spotlight on Spurs. Last time he was on 600 subs. I think we got him to 730 or something before the end of the show. Let's see what we can do tonight. So make sure you get over and show that love to Lukey. Lukey, mate, where do we start? Xavi Simons is trending on Twitter. We got a player out of Rennes that no one heard about yesterday. And all of a sudden, either half the fan base is saying he's absolutely shit. What are we doing here? And the other half is saying he's the next Jermaine fucking Defoe. Probably because he's 5'9" and black. I don't know what else they've got to go on. But at the end of the day, fans are going to fan and agendas are going to agenda, mate. Well, let's start with Daniel Levy's video, shall we? Him and Vinny, a little bit of a boot licking, a little bit of a bum licking session. It was quite awkward at times to see two men that were, I don't know, atta-tartaring each other a little bit. There was a little bit of hand-holding going on, but they did say the words that you want to hear as a Tottenham fan. Obviously, words is cheap, talk is cheap. Proof will be in the pudding, but they did say that they have ambitions for us to win titles, Premier League and Champions League, mate. What did you take of that 7-8 minute video with Vinny and Daniel Levy today?
I think Vinny, from what I've heard about Vinny, Vinny's a great speaker. He's very, very good with fan engagement. So I was very much on board with him coming on. And by the way that he was speaking, yes, I completely agree. It was a bit awkward at times. He is sitting there with his boss and trying to agree with him on everything, but also saying that there is some things we disagree on. But I think they both spoke really well.
Not that much.
But if this wasn't the 15,000th time we'd heard it from Levy, then I think it would have been a really, really good, a good interview, good kind of video. However, as I think many people's critique of Daniel Levy is, okay, he said it, but where are we going to go with it? We famously got our Tottenham back, and then we didn't. So I think if we hadn't heard it so often, I think the whole video would have gone down really, really well. But I think that's been the caveat. Everyone's kind of just gone, yeah, we've heard it all before, sort of thing. So deliver. But I thought it was quite good, and I think you did get some sort of personality from Vinny, and he seems that he's going to be a little bit more fan led. He's already mentioning about being involved with fans and everything else, and I think that's a key. I don't know why whoever's on our communication board, Spurs' communication has just always been shocking. Even if they're delivering the right message, they deliver it in the wrong way, or they're just delivering the wrong message completely. So I'm hoping that improves.
In terms of like getting behind the scenes, but getting sort of reading between the lines here, he did say, Vinny said that he's taken over the day to day, right? Like, and that they are going to, if it's any major decision, that they're going to be joined at the hip, even though they do disagree at times, but they're not going to disagree. If there's a disagreement, essentially they're saying that they're not going to go ahead with one way or the other they make a decision unless there's complete alignment. He also said that they had 24 different names on the managerial list, but that Thomas Frank was the outstanding candidate.
Yeah.
Who do you think's leading that? What sort of level of sincerity, what sort of level of credit do you give to Daniel Levy? I know that obviously we know in the past he's sort of said that the intentions are to step back a little bit, but then there's plenty of experiences with certain players where he has handed over the reins to negotiate certain contracts with maybe intermediaries for like the Pedro Porro deal, and then that one looked like it was falling over. He had to step in at the last minute. Can you really envision Daniel Levy stepping back? And in a world where there is a disagreement between the two, who has the final say on a footballing matter? Vinny does come with pedigree. He isn't exactly he's not like a bozo. He's not wet behind the ears, right? He is someone that's been doing it for a long time. So do you think, like, is he going to hand over 90% of the decisions to Vinny, or is it still going to be the Levy show?
I think it's always going to be the Levy show, unfortunately. But I do think that he's becoming a little bit more aware of his surroundings. So if you actually go off some of the big decisions that have taken place recently, Fabio Paratici was very much the one that led the Nuno deal. And it seemed to be he had to persuade Levy to do that. And then obviously Levy listened and went ahead with it. Okay, it was a disaster, but it was a change of Levy. And as I said on the previous show, for me, the change for Tottenham is Levy changing and the board changing, not let's change him and get someone new in, because we don't know what that's going to entail. I think if he can just start adapting and actually being a little bit more open to it, and surround yourself with footballing people that won't, for instance, let's say, put a deal in for a player that if we don't buy, we get nothing for, in the Cardozo one we discussed the other week. I can't imagine Vinny, I can't imagine Paratici getting through that. So I think that if you listen to a few of the decisions that apparently have gone the way, as I say, Paratici with Nuno, you had Mun with Postecoglou, seemed to very much be a Mun decision that Levy weren't entirely on board by the sounds of it. And then this one is obviously open to interpretation, but you would hope that the way that Vinny went into it, he was definitely a major part of that whole process, because it felt to me that Levy would have been the one to say we was very like, we went into all the details and everything else, but it was Vinny that kind of fronted it. So I think that it was probably joint. I think we probably agree that he wasn't my first name, and I do think that there are some variables that are difficult with him that we just don't know about. But in terms of getting a stable club, in terms of what he's capable of doing, he's very good in a load of aspects that Spurs need. So it's not like they've picked your famous saying a complete bozo. They have pulled someone in who's a good manager. It's just whether he can take us on to, do you appoint Thomas Frank and start talking of titles? I'm just not sure of that just yet. I think that it's that's my view on it.
No, I don't disagree with you at all, mate. Listen, normally, guys, I'm already pumping out the polls, right? This is what we do here. We pump out some polls on this channel. And we'll be getting to that. But just before we do, because I've only got one set of hands, I just want to get some of the, this is obviously the video from Tottenham Hotspur, the YouTube channel. I just wanted to kind of just bring up some of the most popular responses. Now, obviously, Tottenham can edit these things or audit these things before they get put in there. So I doubt we're going to find anything that's entirely toxic about the club or about the owner, but we'll see what they're saying. Give the manager the tools to compete in all competitions. Big props to Vinny. Noticeable change of direction since he's arrived, with communication and fan enjoyment, fan engagement improving. I mean, he's been here a week and there's not been much fan engagement. If I'm entirely honest, actually, Dan to Kelly, the only fan engagement that I've seen has been a giant fucking faux pas of epic proportions on Twitter when the Spurs admin was fucking hell, blocking anybody that had a certain political persuasion. Listen, fair play. The club have come out and acknowledged it was a mistake. I don't know what's happened to the geezer who was in charge, but of doing that stuff. But you know, it's talk about an epic fuck up, an epic fucking like faux pas of epic levels in the first week of Vinny's time. Wow, I finally heard this man say wants to win the Premier League and the Champions League. Better get spending, Daniel, because the team aren't good enough yet. This is a point that I want to bring to in a second. We want Angie's documentary leading to the Europa League win. Admin, I think the admin's currently on a timeout.
Sabbatical.
Gardening leave, shall we call it? I really hope this is the start of a more sort of communication. For so long we haven't heard or felt the humanity within the club hierarchy. So I hope Vinny is coming on with a catalyst for the sort of change we're looking for. Talk is cheap. We will review this video at the end of the transfer window. Actions speak louder than words. When's the Thomas Frank interview? That's a really good point. 100% this video is Vinny's Vinny's idea. So yeah, look, I'm sure there's probably a load of like, get out of our club, you absolute dickhead or whatever. But that's probably been filtered out. In terms of I think the initial responses there all look a little bit reasonable, right? The ones that have managed to get through the filter are saying talk is cheap, we'll see, but it's nice to have a bit of fan engagement. I think those things are important. We shall see with whether or not Vinny is going to continue that stuff going forward. I'll call you Jack then, Luke. In terms of like seeing is believing. If he's saying those sorts of things now, right? If that video's come out, having just won the Europa League, at the same time the BBC Sport website came out and said that there's substantial funds available. Mm-hmm. Whether that's because of a cash injection that maybe we don't know about yet, but it's already been done, and yada yada yada. Whether it's just because the accounts are not as unhealthy as Matt Law would have had us believe. Is there you can't say that sort of shit when at the same time in the background you see Liverpool spending 250 million quid in 3 weeks, with Man City spending 500 million quid in 6 months, with Arsenal about to drop a double bomber on Zubimendi and probably Gyökeres, with Newcastle about to sign Jonathan David and yada, 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 with Manchester United, who finished as shit as we did last year, already dropping some major money on some real improvements. If he's saying our intention is to win the Premier League and our intention is, or our ambition is to win the Champions League, in order for that to look anywhere near sincere, as that guy in the comments said, it has to be proven this window with a lot of spend. Before we talk about the specifics, do you believe that there is serious intent to spend? I'm not unrealistic. I'm not saying go out and get Florian Wirtz type players. I understand where we are in the pecking order.
Yep.
But the likes of Eze are doable if you have the ambition, right? There's a release clause there. The likes of Mbeumo, okay, maybe he wants to go somewhere else. Fair enough. Semenyo's doable. A proper monster six is doable. A striker is doable. A centre-back and a left-back hybrid is doable. Do you think that Daniel Levy having put that video out on Thomas Frank's first week, Vinny's first week, he can't surely let us down this window, can he? Or at least show us that we're trying our best to get these players.
Yeah, 100%. You would expect that that's a signal of intent. That's what you would be hopeful for. But as I said, unfortunately, we have felt like this before, and we've not had that sort of statement. But we've had statements in the past where you think we can really kick on now. We're going to kick on, and then we just never seem to do that. But yeah, you're right. There's a perfect opportunity here to be able to really kick on. When you look through the squad that we've got a decent squad. But if you was to add 2-3 players in, and as you said, I'm not talking your 90, 100 million pound players. I'm saying you go out and you spend 200 million, get 4 players that are 50 million pound, or one's 30, one's 70, however you want to work it. But you could spend 200 million and completely change the way this team operates.
Yeah.
And that's not including obviously the outgoings as well. So we've got quite a big we've got quite a big squad, so there's going to be outgoings as well. So I think it's do or die, sort of like, where else can he go now? I know there was a lot about with Ange, and he had to go and he had to get rid of him, but it's almost like, I know we probably said this quite a few times, but I feel like there's nowhere for Levy to go now. Like, he's gone through all of the managers, he's gone through all of the styles. We've managed to win the Europa League, then he sacked that manager, and it's like, if you don't back Frank now, then you're literally never going to do it. Like, it's the perfect opportunity to really kick on. So
in what way do you? Sorry to cut you off, mate, and I'll let you finish your point. But like, how does it? There's a question here from the Deconator. At what point in the window do you go, yeah, Levy is serious? Or let me rephrase that. Like, what does it take? Because at the moment, we've got Matisse Tell through the door, right? And that's a player that most in the fan base, at least the ones that I interact with on this channel, there seems to be a decent reception for it. Maybe that's because I talk fondly of him. Mm-hmm. But on every other channel that I go on, it's universally like, meh, not a good start. Now, I was on Irish Hotspur earlier, and Dave and Jack were saying, like, I'm okay with Tell as long as there's another left winger to come in ahead and we're moving Sonny on and Solomon's not a part of it. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, whatever. But like, you shrink that 11 down to 6 wingers, and then you bring in an Eze, you bring in a Semenyo, something like that, and then Matisse Tel makes sense. And then you go, okay, now I'm on board it. Like at this stage in the junction, when it's just Matisse Tel, and then we're linked with that Calimuendo guy, who we'll talk about in a minute. Well, look, we're linked with a few other players as well, a lot of players, but what's it going to take for everyone in the Tottenham fan base who are saying, this isn't my first rodeo, I've heard this shit before. What's it going to take? How quickly does it need to happen? And what sort of level of budget? Is it the player? Is it the spend? Is it the name? Is it the proximity? Is it now? Even if it takes a bit of time, like what is it? What needs to happen as like a fucking nuke on our expectations, where we all go, wow, what's that trigger? What's the catalyst for that nuke on the mindset of the Tottenham fans?
I think it will be the attacking signing. I think that is the big thing. So whether it be an Eze type, whether it be, and Romano's probably gone, a Semenyo type, I think that is going to be the part where people go, oh, okay, maybe. Because I think with your six, as I've said before, I think that the system that Frank's probably going to play will probably have two in there. So therefore, we need to upgrade 100%, but we don't need to go in with someone who's going to be isolated and be a complete dominant in the center of the pitch on his own, because there'll be someone with him now. So we could go and get someone who's Palinia, etc., who is better than what we've got, but not an absolute top level player. So that, for me, is not going to move the needle. If we wake up and we sign João Palhinha, I think everyone goes, oh, okay, we'll give him a bit more time now. They're not going to go, hang on. Whereas if we woke up and Eze signed, everyone's going to go, maybe it just is that time where he's woke up, sort of thing. So I think it will be the attacking signing. And I think you've got to give it to the end, unless we start, like, so if Eze and Mbeumo all start signing for clubs in the next couple of days or a week, then you kind of, as long as they're still at the clubs, then you can't really say too much, because we know what Levy's like, and it might be a case of, we're talking about investment. Nobody's really mentioned that recently. That might be because, well, hang on a minute, if all of a sudden there's a £200 million cash injection, everyone goes, oh, that £50 million player you wanted is now 60 million, because that's what happens everywhere. So unfortunately, again, it's one of them, and I think we've said it agreed on this as well previously, is that we have to wait till the end. There's no point trying to judge a window right now, because we're so early on. We need so much. There's so much that needs to happen in terms of players going out as well. If we can't shift the 11 wingers that we have, then bringing in another one is a lot more difficult. But I think that's what's needed. I think it's the forward player that's brought in. And obviously the rumours that take place, the wage bills, if we're pulling out because we're not paying an extra 10, 15 grand or whatever it is, then I think that's another thing that people are just going to jump on about. I think the big sticking point is going and spending getting a star player that improves this 11 is one thing. And then the wage bill, unfortunately, I think that's how a lot of people judge it. If your wage bill is low, you're probably not going to finish high, and therefore that needs to improve as well. So I think it's the attacking signing. I think that's the one that everyone's going to look at, because that's the most exciting.
But does it have to happen now, right? Because, like, as in next, because here is the first story that we've been linked with, where it looks like there's something done, is this guy Nicola Pisilli, right, who plays for Roma. And I'll tell you what, I mean, Saba told me, did you see the goal he scored tonight at in the under 20 championship or whatever it was? Absolutely sensational performance from the guy, and like, he's a young kid, and I'd be more than happy to bring him in if he's a top draw talent. I'm more than happy. I'm also more than happy for this Calimuendo guy, who is also on the lips and saying that Tottenham have open talks to sign him. However, for me, mate, it's this, like, not reading the room, but it's kind of putting first thing is first in life, right? Like, getting the kind of the cart before the horse is problematic. If Tottenham go out and sign Pisilli at the end of the window, if we sign Calimuendo at the end of the window, or not the end necessarily, but just like not yet, if we put all of our eggs into a different basket right now, if we go and get a monster six, if we go and get one of those wingers in the next 7 days, that makes everyone go, okay, even if it's a Semenyo, which seems to split opinion. A lot of people say they don't rate him. I think he's top draw. I think he's class. And I can't wait to see him put his laces through a ball in a Tottenham shirt, because I think he's got a brilliant art of finding the corner without having to place it. I think he's magical in that regard. He's got that decky elbow as well, the way that he can run and just lean into people and shove them out of the way. I really like him. 70 million quid. What's interesting is I almost feel like Tottenham Hotspur will be happier if we sign him for more money than if we sign him for less money, because people somehow attach, oh, if you paid 80 million for him, then he's obviously top drawer. If you only pay 60, he's not a record signing. But like, the player doesn't change. That's just the negotiations between the clubs. But if we were to go and get him now, and then next you go and get a Pasili, next you go and get a Calamawendo, something like that, then, or maybe then you park the, like you go and get some of these players out the door. But if you go and bring in a kid next, or one of this unknown, apparently Jermaine Defoe template from France, I think that everyone's going to be like, oh, typical, and then the energies get sucked out and people start getting into negative spirals again. What's your thoughts on that, mate? The timing is more important than the player necessarily.
I completely agree with you in one aspect, in terms of, yes, I think that if we sign Tel as a deal in the last 5 days after we've brought in a Semenyo, then everyone will be going, "Cool, that's looking quite tasty there." But because you sign him first, everyone thinks naturally they'll go, "Oh, he's going to be the player that we sign, and we ain't going to sign anyone else." The only thing that I'd caveat that with is that if we did go and get all of these signings early, when it gets to the end of the window, there's probably still criticism coming their way again. Well, we had some more time and we still had more players to shift. So therefore, we're fans. We want signings daily. That's just what we sort of want. But he has to now go and I think also there's so many players that are available. There's so many ways in which we can upgrade our team. And also there's so many different teams that are making moves. So there is literally no reason for us not to be able to do that. So like we talk about like Bournemouth, let's use Semenyo as the prime example. Now, if you said at the start of the window, you go and whack 60 down for Semenyo, Bournemouth might have gone, absolutely, let's take that. We'll take 60, we'll reinvest it. We're great at doing that. Now they might go, well, hang on a minute. Huyson's gone. Zabani looks gone. Kirkes has gone. So
Justin Kluivert's about to leave as well.
So right. You also need to look at the club and go, well, actually, are they going to be in a position where they need to spend? I've been saying this for months, that this is going to be the most spent money in terms of a transfer window in the Premier League.
Yeah, for sure.
For me,
for sure.
When you've got Wolves sitting there with £60 million in Cunha, £35 million in Aït-Nouri, Wolves have got £100 million to spend.
Haven't they just got Ferran Torres as well? I think Wolves tonight have got Torres coming, right?
Oh really? I've not even. To be fair, I've not really seen it tonight.
Yeah, he's fucking class, absolutely class. So, I think Tottenham were linked with him a couple of years ago, I believe. So like, Wolves are going to be knocking about again. It's one. I completely agree with that point about Bournemouth. If you've given up the goose on Semenyo, on Mbeumo, if you have, then even if you can advance things with this guy Calamawendo, even if Pasili's, you want to get him done or whatever, it's got to wait until after the end of their tournament. Fair enough. But like, if you know that you can't sell Sonny until after the first game, at least of the Asian tour, because he's got contractual stipulations where he has to be there, fair enough. But if you are someone who wants to go and get Semenyo, then one of the worst things you could possibly do is wait for Kirkes to be confirmed at Liverpool, wait for Zabani to go wherever he's going to go. And then if Leverkusen stop fucking around and go and get Justin Kluivert to replace Florian Wirtz, then all of a sudden they've already lost 4 of their best 5 players. They've got to replace 3 of their back 4. They're not going to be interested in selling Semenyo at market value, even if market value is 60 or 70, whatever the rate is. They're going to start asking for 85 million, because they're not going to they might have 300 million quid by the end of this like ransacking. Mm-hmm. But they want to keep some of their best players, right? And if they don't, if they sell him for 70 and then they go looking for the next whoever, those clubs are going to go, well, we know you've got 300 million quid because you sold your 4 or 5 best players. So Tottenham need to decide right now, is Mbeumo viable? If he really is just waiting for United to pay the money, then fuck him off and go and get Semenyo, if that's where you want to go. If that's what you want to do.
Obviously, Eze is a different option because it's a release clause. So I mean, if it gets to it, and in a terrible world where everyone says no or all clubs say no, and it's just the fact whether you stomp up the cash up front for Eze or you don't, there's an option there, regardless of what happens with Palace's sells and buys or whatever. you can go and release him and that's it if he wants to come, sort of thing. So that him is slightly different, but I feel like we do this just far too often. Like, people talk about Brighton, they talk about Bournemouth and the way that they act in the transfer market. One of their key things is they don't mess around. They just go and get it done, because if the more you mess around, the more Willian happens and that sort of stuff. So for me, I prefer it all to just get done. We get it in, we get them in early. Thomas Frank, soon as we start doing the training, he's going to want to have the people up. But it just seems to be a continued thing. I mean, January is a prime example. There's no reason why we couldn't have gone and spent that money on Danzo the first day of the transfer window, and then we'd have had a defender all January. Instead, we wait till the 2nd of February to sign one. So it just seems to be the way we work. And I think that we do end up getting players for real cheap sometimes, and we get some great bargains, but we've also missed out on so many others that you have to look at both sides. You can't just give it, oh, well, we've managed to get Rafael van der Vaart for 8 mil because we held on for a couple of weeks. Yeah, but you've also missed out X, Y, Z. So I think there's balance on both sides, and there are some players that just will not leave. They want to wait. They want to find out who's going to come in and players like that. But we're at a club where we should just be going, okay, if that's the case, we'll revisit this. Unless it's that star man where you just go, we have to get him. And there isn't that one really. When you think of, we've got so many different options in Semenyo and Mbeumo and Eze. It's not like we were limited where we go, he's the one guy that really changes things.
Yeah, well, I think that we need to. I think a lot of Tottenham fans, we're not talking enough about a striker, because we're sitting there presuming that you got cockblock Richie who ain't going, and Solanke that we paid 67 million on. But I actually think that we need to figure out a way to strip down that. Because when I talk about 11 wingers, one of them is Richalison. He plays predominantly off the left-hand side. We know we're going to get rid of Yang's going to go on loan. Micky Moore's probably going to go on loan. We'll talk about that in a second. Before we do, let me just, I do want to bring back to a strike. Strike is the next talking point. In fact, before that, we're going to talk about Xavi Simons, because he is trending on Twitter and he is available. Leipzig are willing to let him go for less money than what Semenyo is going to cost. And for me, he is I'm getting called out in the comments, by the way, not today, but in my uploads, for stop saying "la-ta-ta-ta" for everything, Sean, because no one knows what it actually means. It basically means fucking tasty. But Chris Wood is saying they use a company to auto filter. I think you're talking about the YouTube comments on the Tottenham channel. I used to work for the company. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you, mate. There you go. I put auto filter on my comments to stop you bastards calling me clickbait, but the clickbait still gets through. Clickbait comments still get through somehow. So the auto filter doesn't work, or you guys just figured out a way to get around it. But thank you for the super chat. Top Spurs 63, member for 21 months. Isn't the rebuild at boardroom level? Signings? No. Listen, mate, there is a rebuild at boardroom level, but I've got to be honest, we haven't heard Daniel Levy ever come out and say what he said today. He didn't come out and say what in the words in the order that everyone wants to hear. This is our 5-year plan. We're going to do this, that, and the other, and then build the hotel and create the money and then go after the Premier League. He didn't say it like that. He finished up a 7-minute interview saying, we want to win everything. We want to win the Premier League and the Champions League. Well, that's the first time that we've heard him say it. Now, whether or not Vinny's come in and said, look, this is one way to there's more than one way to skin a cat here, and this is the first way, the first method. At the end of the day, he said those words on that basis, and on the basis that there is money to be spent, substantial funds, according to the BBC reports. And as I've said for months and months and months, whether it's through cash injections, whether it's through the shareholder listing, whether it's through the NDAs, I've been saying it since December, something's happening at the club and there is going to be money available. The accounts did not line up with the notion that we have to sell to buy. If the sell to buy thing was real, it was because of the squad numbers, not because of the financial limitations. Next year, we are going to have our record revenues. And so this summer, with a new CEO, hopefully the Don's back. You've got Vinny coming in. You've got Daniel Levy taking a backward step. But the last final words that we're probably going to hear from him for a while were, we are looking to win things. I think we have to dare to dream a little bit and hold his feet to the fire on this one. So I appreciate you, Totspur 63. Thanks, mate. And Daniel Fields come in as well, saying, smash the granny out of the likes if you want. No, not if you want. Fucking do it. I don't ask for much from you people. Don't ask for anything, actually. I don't ask for memberships. I don't ask for super chats. I appreciate when they come in. I ask for one thing. Smash the subscribe, and the granny button needs to be the granny button. The like button needs to be grannied. That's all I ask for you guys. That's all I ever ask. Mate, let's move it forward to Xavi Simons. It's all over Twitter tonight. It's trending in a load of different places. Leipzig have come out and said that they accept that this might be the right moment to part ways with long-term buy-in target Xavi Simons, but they are determined to resist offers below 70 million euros, which is 60 million quid. Tottenham are focused. This is from The Athletic. So it's not a place that you just dismiss it. The Athletic are broadly considered to be somewhat reliable, mate. Xavi Simons, where does he sit in the stack rank here, mate? Xavi Simons, Semenyo, Mbeumo, Eze, they all can do a little bit of each other's job. Which one would you like?
They all kind of, they've all got traits that none have, but then they've all got traits that kind of overlap each other as well, where you go and he can do a bit of that. So I know it's a standard answer, but it's very much in terms of what Frank looks at and what does he see, and I think that an Eze type would be brilliant. I think the way that he plays football would be brilliant for Spurs. I think Xavi Simons is similar to that. When he gets on the ball, you're going to be going, something can happen here. And I think that he's massively underrated just purely on the basis that he's playing in the German league and people go, well, Bayern Munich win it every year. I know last year they didn't, but that's kind of the theme. I think if we can go and get Xavi Simons, I think that is a statement. I think that's a signing I'm 100% on board with. And he's also flexible enough. I could see Simons playing as one behind. You know, in Frank's formation, sometimes he plays one up top with 2 10s. He could play in the 10. He could potentially play off the left. He could play central midfield. I would absolutely love that signing. I think it'd be brilliant. And also, he's come through at the Barcelona academy, played at Barcelona levels. So if you're playing at that level, then you've probably got something about you.
Not probably, mate. This guy's cultured. I love the word cultured, but I don't use it very rarely. I do use it very rarely because I think that to be cultured, he's 20. He's just turned 22 years old. Look at these stats, mate. Look at these. This isn't doing it in the Dutch league. This is doing it in the German league. It's difficult to be up there, 90th percentile for basically everything you could want. This is where you use the word ratata fucking ta. He is absolutely sublime. And if we pivot across here to his stats and his positions, right? He can play off the left. He can play off the right. He can play in the attacking midfield role. But for what it's worth, he could also be an 8, mate. He could also 100%. Be an 8. There's no danger in my mind that he couldn't slip in there and do a decent job if we had an injury crisis next year in the 8 role.
Yeah, but also it's not just that. Like, again, I think this is something that people don't really take into consideration. So you naturally wouldn't want Simons to be playing in your 8 role if you're going against your cities and everything else. But as every single club in the whole of the Premier League struggles against a low block, you then have more creative players that play further back. So if you've got a defensive player in your Palinia or whatever, then you could have someone go into a Wolves away or a team that are in the bottom half because you need to be a bit more creative. You then don't need the workhorses in midfield or your defensive players in midfield. So when you're planning different formations and different tactics against different teams, I think he would be brilliant. I think he's versatile. And as I say, once you've got that sort of that Barcelona background, then you've just got the ball playing understanding. You know where to be. You know how to get there. You know how to make space, and that's perfect against the low block.
Do you? I don't know what he earns, but I don't think he earns like massive money either, mate. Like, is there any concern here that there's not like a massive amount of teams that look like they're in for him? Like there's Arsenal links, like there's like lazy links, like Newcastle lazy links. But I just wonder whether or not the fact that he's a bit of an everything guy means that he doesn't naturally he doesn't naturally fill any particular role like perfectly, but that he can do a bit of everything. But obviously versatility can be used as a brush to sort of whack you with, but it can also be a brilliant tool to use when you have a team that is in flux all the time. Where would you see him? If Xavi Simons was the guy, and let's be honest, Daniel Levy, he might be looking to win the title and stuff, but if Semenyo, because of the Bournemouth situation where they're losing 4 or 5 of their players. Obviously, Semenyo is an out-and-out winger off the left or the right, 2-footed. Obviously, Eze's a 10/left winger. Simons, more of an attacking midfielder, 10 that can pivot out there, but can certainly like sort of drop back a little bit. Where would you see Simons coming in? If he's primarily in a 10 role, then what happens then to Maddison and Decky when both of them are fit again later on in the season?
Yeah, I think Kulusevski's been a big question mark for a lot of fans, because in a lot of ways he probably suits a Frank system, but then in other ways he probably doesn't. So it depends on what sort of system he goes for. I think he's going to go to the 4-2-3-1, which he's preferred to play recently. And the Embremo role, if you like. Kulusevski could definitely play that to some extent. If you've got bodies around you, i.e. your Porro overlapping, that then leaves Kulusevski to come inside. But I feel like, as you said, Simons could probably play in any of them positions behind the striker. I feel like he's got that tactical nous. And if we're looking at our wingers to not get to the byline and cross it like what we did with Ange, then he's not that player to do that. You're not going to play him on the right wing to try and make him beat a man and whip crosses in. However, if he's playing more of an inverted role where he's kind of coming inside, I think he could play off the right or the left. And as I said, with the fullback overlapping. So I think where we're at, the names that you're mentioning, I've always said that a lot of the times we talk about, oh, let's go and sign this player, let's sign that player. And it's like, yeah, but who's in for and with us? Teams that are far beneath us. So you need to kind of gauge, is there a reason for that? But I think some of the teams that you've named, they've got their team to a high level now, where now they're looking at specialists. For us, we're not at that level where we're only bringing in specialists, because we could probably upgrade so many different areas of our team. And I think, again, if you've got your sort of Maddisons, you've got your Simons in there, they bring the standard of the team up. And then once they're consistent, you can then start bringing in specialists where you go, actually, this is where we really struggle. So we need to get someone who's very good at doing this. Whereas at the moment, we're just trying to increase the level.
I just put a poll out, guys, for who is your preference? Eze at £68 million, Simons at £55 million, or Semenyo at £70 million. I want your takes on that, guys. I also want to ask you, keep fucking calling you Jack. Fucking hell. Jesus Christ, I'm talking to fucking footballing royalty. Luke, you know what? Fuck, I'm going to call you Jack from now on. Luke, what's the... we hear a lot about Tottenham fans saying, like, you know, why do we bring in Matisse Tell? We're cop blocking Mikey Moore. Excuse me. We're cop blocking Mikey Moore's development by bringing in more young players. Xavi Simons, he's 22 years old, just turned 22, right? He's literally 22 last couple of weeks ago. So he's a youngster. Are we guilty here of also like that? I mean, for me personally, I don't give a shit. If you're good enough, you're old enough. I don't care how old you are. And also, I don't care how young Mikey Moore is or that he's one of our own. Like, at the end of the day, you know, figure it out. I don't care whether they're 30 or 20 or whatever else. I just want people that are going to come in and improve us. Is Xavi Simons coming into that 10 role specifically? Is that going to, if it happens, is that two questions by like part A and part B? One, is that going to piss some of the fan base off? I'm going to find out in the comment section in a second with regards cop blocking Mikey Moore, who I think needs a loan anyway. I don't think he's ready yet. And two, does that potentially set the sort of the next story will be an exit, won't be happening now, but next summer for either Maddison or Decky to be leaving? And if so, would Decky be on the chopping block and Maddison this summer if it wasn't for the fact that they're injured and wouldn't be able to pass a medical?
I think it's definitely a possibility for both of them. Yeah, for sure. I think that, and that's right. I think everybody should be up for the block after the season that we had last year. Okay, we won the Europa League, but there was loads of them players that simply weren't good enough for long periods of time. So I'm sure that there's probably very few in the squad where at least their future hasn't been up for debate over that last year. There would have been players that we would have just been going, if he went, like, I done it with Brennan and Bissouma. I was like, I've just had enough of them. I've had enough of both of them. They're just constantly giving the ball away. You can say about tactics and everything else, and that's another debate. But 5-yard passes, kicking the ball out, and just not being aware, like, this is basic stuff, and they were getting it wrong. And then all of a sudden you get to the end of the season and they're both in a bit of form, and you go, maybe they've turned a corner. Maybe it was purely the tactics. So, but we're all guilty with that. With regards to the young players, I do exactly the same thing in terms of, right, let's go out. We need to get some experience. I look at all of the names and the people, and I'm going, yeah, do you know what? We should go and get Hato. We should definitely go and get him. And then I go, but he's 18, so I keep saying we need experience. But yeah, I'm also looking at players that are younger as well. I completely agree with Moore. Moore is unbelievable technically, but physically he's nowhere near the Premier League. So the only way Mikey Moore should be playing in Premier League games is if he's coming off the bench the last 10 and 15. And for me, that happened far too much last year, where I could look at the starting lineup and tell you who's coming on at the 45th minute and who's coming on at the 60th because of fitness and everything else. You can't go into games going, we're going to try and get him 30 minutes, because what happens if the game's not going that way, etc. So I think as long as Moore hits the homegrown and player club trained restrictions, which I think he does in August, then I think he does need a loan. I think he needs to go and play football. And it doesn't matter what level, like Donnelly's proved that he doesn't need to be playing in the Championship. If it's League One, that's where it is. But he needs to be playing football regularly. And again, a lot of people are going to turn around and say, well, he should be playing in the Premier League. He should be playing. We're playing Champions League football now. So the only games that they're kind of going to be free hits is the Carling Cup. That's it. Every other game is going to be so important. And I just don't see. I can see him on the ball, and I can see when he's done well. Alkmaar was obviously unbelievable, but then also when you then look at when he's coming up against, I think it was Forest, where he came up against Iona, who just knows what to do with a youngster like that. Just bodied him off the ball, and then he just looked different. And there was a couple of other games where I think he came off at half time, and I'm like, you can't keep putting the pressure on this 17-year-old. So I agree. I think he does need a loan. But it's what way you play it. Do you know what I mean? Like if we played Mikey Moore and then we got knocked out of, or we was terrible in the league, then everyone would be going, well, he shouldn't be playing this person. So we do that as fans. That's just something that's ingrained in us. But no, I don't think it should be stopping. I don't think it should be stopping the development. We should always have that in mind. And if we're bringing in players that are one level above him, then it's pointless. But if we're bringing in players that are a level, like levels above him, then 100%, you should always be looking to upgrade the team, because eventually if you get to a good level and he's never good enough, then you've just wasted that whole time waiting, and then it doesn't ever come to fruition.
No, I don't disagree with what you're saying there, mate, at all. I want to come back on that, though. There's a couple of questions I want as a follow-up. Just quickly, first and foremost, Rob Wallace, unbelievable generosity, mate. You've just gifted 10 Spurs Talk Show memberships out to some of the lucky people here. There's 526 people here. So 10 of you, make sure you say thank you to Rob. Thank you very much, Rob. Really appreciate that, mate. And we're going to be doing another fan phoning show. The last one was wild. It was fucking funny as fuck. We'll do another one of those next week, or maybe even the end of this week. So if you are one of those recipients, then please come on and meet, say hello to us, and we'll get to know you. Get to know you. Appreciate you, Rob, mate. Very generous, mate. Thank you very much. And another one, Dan Bowers has become a new member of the show as well. Appreciate you, Dan. Thank you very much, mate. Very, very nice of you, mate. Looking forward to getting to know you as well. Guys, there is 520 people here late on a Tuesday. Love it. Please make sure you smash the granny out of the like button. And also, if you haven't already, in the title of the show, wherever it is in the video, I don't know where it is, what you're watching this, but there is a link. It's clickable, and it will take you over to Spotlight on Spurs, which is Lukey's channel. It's a fledgling channel. We're going to try and get him towards 1,000 subs. He's an awesome dude. Love him. We're getting to know him over here on the channel here, and he's going to hopefully become a channel regular, as long as I don't lose his interest. But he's sensational. We call him, Jack Grealish from Wish, and or Jack Sparrow, or whatever you want to call it. I don't mind. He's a good-looking boy, though. One of the better-looking boys around the community for sure.
I've been called a lot worse. That's what I'm going to say. I've been called a lot worse.
I'll be calling you a lot worse as well. Don't worry about that. Mate, I want to ask you though, right? So in terms of this sort of young players, you mentioned Gerald Hatto, right? Quality player. I'm of the ilk. I don't care how old you are. In fact, I actually quite like the idea, to be honest, of having like a freshers team that are, just young, hungry, and that maybe just improving together, growing together. There's something about it that I quite like. Now, I know that it's naive to think that a team of 21-year-olds can really go on and take on men at the toughest level of the game. But there's a little part of me that is looking forward to seeing the average age of our squad at about 22. If we do move on Davis, if we do move on Sonny, if Bissouma does leave the club, if the player that we're going to talk to in 10 minutes time, the round off in Vicario, if he was to go as well, and we were bringing in players like Gerald Hatto, if you bring in players like Xavi Simons, if you bring in some of these younger guys that are, champing at the bit to make their way through, sort of world of football, you could almost see like there is like a hub of youth, like a magnetism for young players to come through to Tottenham. Now, I hear the point about being that, like, how do you find space? But even if you have older players at the club, why does a young player naturally necessarily cock block someone's progress? I don't think it necessarily does, because a 27-year-old is still going to play, if they're good enough, most of the minutes, and an 18-year-old that's trying to get minutes isn't, maybe 3 or 4 years' time. But things change so quickly in football. Yeah. It's such a fast turnover of talent that I don't think it really matters. If you're good enough, you're old enough, and you'll get your chances whether you take it or otherwise when you're playing in 4 competitions. Are you like steadfast, heavy set on the notion that Tottenham, for us to have any chance next season, we can't continue to look towards, even if they're the best young players, at some point we need to bring in and sprinkle in some experience? Or is there any part of you that goes, I quite like the idea of Tottenham being the youngest team in Europe and just playing with that free spirit? They may be naive, they may be inexperienced, but they just have that kind of almost recklessness that comes with youth, and there's no fear because they're too young to be afraid, if that makes sense.
I love my whole idea around football is high pressing, is young, energetic, attacking football. So I have absolutely no problem about our average age. That doesn't I don't care about that whatsoever. The thing with the average age is that you do have to have experienced pros that are good professionals to be able to lead them in certain situations. And my concern is I don't know whether we've got that sort of leadership. Now, if we had that sort of leadership, the young players for me wouldn't really be a concern. And we're obviously talking about 20, 21-year-olds, not like signing a bunch of 17-year-olds. So that wouldn't be a concern for me. Like, I know I think he's gone to AC, but if you brought in like a Modric type and we had him as our midfielder, but instead we've got Bissouma who's out doing balloons, like the young players, they do have to have players that they look to and that they know that sets examples and everything else. And also you need to have proper leaders. Like you're never going to be able to achieve anything unless you've got proper, your Sergio Ramos's, your Roy Keane's. You need to have some sort of character that's a leader. And I think we struggle there. So I think if the setup of the squad was correct, then I don't think we'd have a problem with that. But for me, I just don't know whether we've got enough leaders to be able to take on more youngsters, unless
who do you go for the leaders then, right? Like if we're looking at are we now looking at someone that's 28 years old, 29 years old, that is also of Champions League level quality, that is experienced, and that is at the very highest level of the game? Is that what we're looking for? Because if so, then where are we looking? Because we're not linked to many players that tick all of those boxes.
I don't think it's necessarily about the age. It's about the experience. Like, let's use Xavi Simons as a perfect example. Someone in the chat said he's the same age as Donnelly. These are 2 completely different players in terms of experience. Donnelly has literally just finished his first loan, and the first half of that loan, or the third of that loan, went really, really poorly. There was a lot of question marks about why we even sent him to Orient. You can only play 5. I think you can have 5 in your squad. They had 6 loan players, and on occasions he was missing squads. Whereas Xavi Simons has played Champions League football for 4 years or whatever it is. So it's about experience, not necessarily age for me. Like Xavi Simons would be someone that you're bringing in who's an experienced player. I wouldn't be sitting there going, oh, he's only 22. Like he's done it. He's been there. He's done the lot. Do you know what I mean? It's like Jude Bellingham, that sort of player. He's because he's young, he's got the experience. So for me, it's more about how many years they've played. And I've been saying that for a while, that it's not just about going and signing, like Oliver, for instance, had one year in the Prem, we go and sign him, but he's got a year's experience. We need to get players that have played 2, 3, 4 years at top levels. And if they're 24, that's brilliant, because it means they've started young. If it means they're 26, then they're 26. But we just need to have players that have been there, done it, tried it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to want to go and sign a 24, 5-year-old who's never even played Champions League football, and then they're going out playing Real Madrid away. It's going to be a little bit like as if it would be for a kid. So it is tough. It is tough. You've got to balance everything up. But for me, again, like Hato, for instance, I think Hato's has he not had 3 full seasons at Ajax? I know he's 18, but I think he's played a ridiculous amount of games. So yeah, I think he's played like for 2.5 years or something like that.
He's 19 years old.
He's 19,
and his hang on. share this towel. I'm not going to hide this away from you. I'm going to show you my evidence. Big Mac. Oh, I can do with a Big Mac right now. This guy's face. This guy's absolutely class, though. He has played
50 games this year alone.
Did he play last season? I think he must have played last season. So
I think that said 50. But that's what I'm saying. So you're signing a 19-year-old, but actually he's coming in with bundles of experience in the top league as well. He's played
I think this is his breakout season, I think. Oh, he's played 111 games for Ajax. Fucking hell.
You know, so it's okay going, he's only 19. Yeah, he is, but he's actually had, as I said, nearly 3 full seasons. So this is an experienced guy. He's young. You can mold him into what you like. He'll obviously still be listening. He'll still be learning. He'll still be getting better. But actually, in terms of experience, he's been there and done it, really, for a 19-year-old, which is just mental. But then if you compare that 19-year-old to someone in the youth team like a Will Lancashire, I think it's 19, 20, who's, again, played two Premier League, 2 games for us, or 3 games for us, a handful of games for us, and then went and played for West Brom a few games. These are completely different levels of experience, understanding, and that sort of stuff. And again, he's playing for Ajax, but I know they've been struggling, but they're a top club. So
they are. By the way, that geezer, I know he's a left back, but he can absolutely slot in as a left-sided centre back. He's fast, he's strong, he's tall, he can body people out the way. For a 19-year-old, I was about to say the word cultured again, but I'm not going to use it again because you can only use it for I got one cultured player name per show rule. That's all I ever use. Listen, I think he is a top player, but I don't. Listen, if you want someone with a bit more experience, Vanderson for me is a player that is comfortable on the right back slot. He can play off the left as well. Monaco fame, the Brazilian. Absolutely. I think this guy's incredible. 30 million quid. He's not going to cost you as much as Jarell Hatto. He's got a bit more minutes in his tank, a bit more experience, and he can do a little bit of everything. He can dribble with the ball. He can run at pace. He's got a lovely little whip on him. He can shoot if he gets the opportunity. What do you think about Vanderson, mate? Have you seen much of him from Monaco? Have you seen much of him from his previous games or his international time?
I've watched bits of him, but I'll be completely honest with the wing backs. I just can't see anything other than a Kyle Walker-Peters. I just can't see it, just because Pedro Porro, Udogie, and then Spence, and then you bringing in essentially a fourth choice backup. He fits the homegrown, so I just can't see anything else. And I know it's a bit of a defeatist attitude, but I just think, again, when we talk about squad planning, you're talking about young players and everything else. How have we got into a predicament where going into next year, Devine and Lancashire are probably not first team players, so that would mean we have one player that is club trained. Like, it's just a crazy situation for a club. If it's different if you're a club who don't expect to get there, you don't expect to get to Europe, so we haven't got to worry about it. If you're a club that you want to go and win titles, you expect to be in Europe. Surely you sit there and you're like, we're going to make sure that we've got club trained players that are going to be able to compete at this. So I just see that. But I think Vanderson would be a great addition. I do think if we could get him in again, it becomes more of a problem, because then foreign players, it then becomes less club trained. So but yeah, he's a good player. I think he'd be a good addition to us if we was able to get balance out of squad registration rules.
Love to see it, mate. Just before I move on to the last segment of the night, we got another new member as well, the Deaconator. I don't know how you say your name, mate. Appreciate you, mate. Looking forward to getting to know you as well. Make sure you're around for next week's fan show. It's going to be difficult to top last one, but there were some real characters on it. It was absolutely hilarious. But thank you very much for your support, mate. I appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you, guys. Listen, I might be sort of going the early crow here, but I've just seen my man Sava, who says he likes this channel. Yeah, I bet you do. You know what? There's going to be a new channel, guys. There's going to be a new channel that you might like a little bit more. I don't know if I should be saying this. We've just come off of a potential call here, but a lot of people have been asking, when are people going to be debating everybody? When's these things going to happen? So I might be going a little bit early here because we haven't figured out the kind of the details. But a little bit of an announcement for you lot right now. There's something coming to the Tottenham community called, well, we're not sure the name. We're fucking around with the idea called the Spurs 5. It's going to be Sean Butler from Spurs Talk Show, Sava from Football Heritage TV, Lubo from No Fixed Abode, Johnny H from Football Inc. and Spurs Talk Show, and Stelios Tritios from Tottenham away. Those of you are saying, when are you going to debate Stel? Well, we're going to have a regular 2 nights, 2 shows a week on a new channel. It's going to be on a new channel. It's going to be called the Spurs 5. Once this is all organized, it's going to be starting next week, next Thursday. So in 9 days' time, there's going to be fire. There's going to be debates. There's going to be probably arguments. If you don't watch the first show, you might not get to see the second show because the whole thing might implode after 1 hour of content. But we're going to see how it goes. It's going to be absolutely massive. Football Heritage. Sam has already got the logo done. Looking forward to see it. So it's going to be awesome. We're going to be sort of trying to do the big 6 of Spurs. So look forward to that. It should be fireworks, and that's going to be, like I say, coming out in a couple of weeks' time. I'll call you fucking Jack again. Jack Sparrow, Jack Grealish. Let me ask you I'm going to throw a couple of names at you, mate, at the top end of the pitch as players that we haven't spoken about yet today. And then I'm going to ask you the last question of the night, which is about our goalkeeper situation. But Johan Bakayoko, a player that is also, tearing things up in PSV, really, really good player, was supposed to go to Nottingham Forest last summer. It didn't happen. It fell apart. It was 30 million quid then. He's going to be 50 million pound now. A terrorizer with a ball at his feet. However, didn't really light things up quite as much last season as he did the season before. But in terms of a player that can sort of scare opposition, if you're going to play with that sort of front, that sort of that 3 at the top end, Johan Bakayoko, is he an option for Tottenham? Does his age put him in that same category where you're thinking, where's the experience coming from? Of course, for PSV, he has played in Europe at the Champions League level, so he's not inexperienced at that level. But where's his draw? What's his pecking order position? Would you be okay if Tottenham were to reach for the stars of a Semenyo, of an Eze, whatever, and land on the moon in the shape and the guise of a Johan Bakayoko?
I don't think it would go down well with the fan base if that's the forward player that we bring in. If he's the one we bring in as an option and then we go big on somewhere else. But I feel like we've probably already done that with Tell. So unless there's a transfer that kind of comes out of the blue, then I don't think that would sit well, personally. I think he's a decent player. I think he would be a good option. But I've been saying this for ages now. We need to stop buying options. We need to start signing players that improve that 11 immediately. And there will be things that he's good at, but I wouldn't say you sign him and he's like, yeah, he starts for us. He 100% will start in that position. Although he's up against Brennan Johnson, so maybe he would.
Well, yeah, you know what? We're all talking about stripping down this 11 wingers down to like 5 or 6, Luke. But no one's talking about Brennan Johnson maybe being an exit. Like the most. I mean, I know he had a great season in terms of output last year. I hope that Thomas Frank can get the guy to put a little bit more input in, because he seems to be going on 1,000 revs and not much more in first gear for most of his playing time. He's very good at being at the back post at the right time, which is a skill set in itself, in and of itself. But for me, I just I wonder, like, is there any chance that you might see some links towards Johnson moving back to a team, somewhere else in the Premier League, or are we going to have this guy for at least the next season?
I think it's unlikely, but if it happens, it'll be at the end of the window. When Nottingham Forest, there's question marks over Elanga. I think Newcastle are probably looking for a right winger. United, obviously, with Garnacho. So I think if he might be, you've mentioned it before about one goes and it's like a domino effect. He might be at the end of that domino effect. But I don't think he's going to be a player that people are going to want to go and go out to get. It's going to be like an option at the end. But Frank seemed to want him, so I'd be surprised if Frank wanted him and was willing to spend fairly big money for Brentford. I'm not sure whether he'd want to get rid of him. Maybe he thinks there's something there. And as you said, he flatters to deceive quite regular, but Frank does improve players. And is he a player that we lose and then all of a sudden he finds a bit of confidence and then we're sitting there going, how did we have this? Where has this player come from? Maybe Frank's the right guy. So I think if he could have a year with him, and again, another thing I keep saying about priorities, our priority is not selling Brennan Johnson at this moment in time. Our priority is selling all the other left wingers that we've got, sorting out so that could be like in a year's time, he probably hasn't quite cut it, whatever, and then maybe move him on. So I'd be surprised, but it would be towards the end of the window, if any.
Mate, love that, buddy. And last question for you, mate. We're going to scoot all the way back to the bottom end of the pitch. Rumours out today that, or actually yesterday and the day before, that I didn't take seriously at first, and then they keep sort of banding around. Mike Maignan leaving AC Milan, probably going to Chelsea to replace Kepa and maybe compete with Sanchez, and then Tottenham, who I thought, we've got 9 goalkeepers. We don't really, or 900 goalkeepers probably. Don't need any more. But apparently Vicario might be having his head turned and wants to go back to Italy to go to AC Milan. It's not an area of the pitch that I thought we'd be worried about this year, or this summer. But if Vicario, if those rumours are true, and Maignan does go to Milan, and Vicario does want to go back to Maignan does want to go to Chelsea, and Vicario does want to go to Milan, where do we turn our attention to? What's going on there? What's your thoughts on Vicario? How solid is he? Would you be that bothered if he left?
There's not many players where we can't get better than. I don't think there's not many players in this squad where you go, well, if he leaves, we're knackered, which is what we've had for quite a period of time with your Son at his best, Kane, etc. So I wouldn't be absolutely devastated. My question is always, if we lose that player, who do we bring in? So if we don't bring anyone in, like Romero would be exactly the same thing. If we don't bring anyone in, then that's a problem. Whereas if we bring someone in who's a decent level, then I don't think he's going to struggle as much under Frank with the playing out, because Frank doesn't play out as regular as what Ange does. He does leave the freedom to be able to play long balls, etc. So I don't feel like from a stylistically point of view, he'll get any worse than what we probably see. As a shot stopper, he's unbelievable. But again, it's about priorities. Is Vicario a top 4 goalkeeper? In my eyes, no. But are we a top 4 team at this moment in time? I feel like we've got other priorities to worry about, and then maybe Vicario's in the years. I think that's the problem. Our squad planning needs to be really good, because we need to make 3 or 4 signings this season. Next season, I can already see where players need to be upgraded already. But
yeah. I hear that.
That's not the priority right now. It's different if we had 500 million to go and spend or whatever.
Well, we might do. We might do if Qatar comes to the party. By the way, just a finishing little gambit here. If what happened yesterday on Twitter is a little snapshot, given the powder keg of emotions that does exist right now between certain factions of society. I'm not going to say it out loud, but we all know where the kind of conflicts are. If Tottenham have struck a deal, last question for you, mate, and steer clear of the kind of semantics here, but just on a sort of 10,000 foot view, if Tottenham have struck a deal on some level with Qatar, or some people from within Qatar, right, with the Amanda Staveley thing, we don't know where that money's coming from, if it is coming from there, but if it does. Has yesterday's behaviour with regards to the fan base? I mean, I put a tweet out just asking a simple question about whether Manor Solomon was good enough for our football club, and the amount of comments that were aimed at just about other things, right? There's obviously a lot of emotion at the moment. It's a hugely sort of sensitive topic, but I was just talking about the player, nothing to do with any of the other stuff. If Tottenham were to get into bed if Daniel Levy was to get into bed with Qatar, would that be... Would Tottenham fans that have a problem with that whole thing and use it as a stick with the Solomon story, would they be similarly problematic issues with regards new ownership that look like that? Or would everyone park that kind of shit because ultimately it probably means more money for Tottenham Hotspur to spend on players? Like, does the politics stop when it comes to Tottenham's ability to compete at the very top? Or will it still boil over and spill over into that conversation as well?
No, I think that there'll be a very small section that will be it for them. They won't even support Spurs if that's the case. However, 99.9% will just be like, if they're spending money and we're going out and we're signing X, Y, and Z, then absolutely we'll be so trophy laden we won't even know who the owners are.
Yeah. Just gonna have so many busy polishing brass. Not that sort of brass, but we were so busy polishing brass that we got no time for politics. We got a trophy cabinet to keep clean.
And that's the whole idea of it. The whole idea is that you bring so much energy and everything else to everything apart, like at the club, that you forget about where all the money's coming from, or whatever sort of issues you may have. And I just support the team, like very similar. I look at a player and I just say, is this a player that I like? Is it a player that's good enough? That's it. I don't take into context all of that stuff. And I didn't realize it was as big a deal to some people as it was. But yeah, regardless of what happens, there's never, in football, it's such a, there's so much, you love football so much, you're so passionate about it. Even the smallest of things can trigger people into becoming absolute meltdowns. And it's like, I'm just said that I don't think the player's as good as you do. That's it. It doesn't need to go any further. So there'll definitely be people that won't be happy with it. But I think it will just be one of them that after a period of time, it will be half forgotten about. And as long as they're doing the right thing by the club, then people will be okay with it. I think the majority of fan base anyway.
Yeah, I think so, mate, as well. I hope so anyway. And I also think you've got to shake hands with the reality that you're never going to please all the people all the time. So, you know, at the end of the day, do your best and please yourself. We've got a last super chat to say thank you very much to Regards Daniel. What a perfect way to finish, mate. Regards Daniel coming in with a membership. Listen, Daniel, if you want to do more than become a member of the football club, but put your hand in your pocket, go and shake hands with whoever you got to shake hands with, and make sure that we've got 200 million quid, 200 million smackaroonies to go after this summer, mate, because you know what? The transfer window started with a plum. It was interesting. And then it's all gone a little bit damp squibbish in the last sort of week or so, not just with Tottenham, but with everybody else. But Luke, mate, you've been fantastic as always, mate. It was only going to be a quick one, quick, sharp hour tonight, mate. What's coming up on Spotlight on Spurs? And guys, if you haven't already, please just drop into the title of the link of the video. You can see at Spotlight on Spurs. Click that link. Please smash the subscribe for Lukey. Getting that first 1,000 subs is a massive deal, and he's right on the cusp of it. So please help him out. What's coming up, Lukey?
So we're going live this week. We're actually talking a little bit about finances. We've got Levy Economics coming on from Twitter to kind of go over.
Nice guy.
Yeah. So we're just going to go over some bits and pieces about what our expectations are for the summer. Obviously, it is all up in the air. No one knows for sure, but we're kind of going to run through that and see our own opinions on it. Obviously, between now and Thursday, we could end up selling half the team or signing half the team, knowing Spurs. So I'm sure there will be more things coming up. Euro expert, who plenty of people will be aware of, sensible transfers and things like that for the Athletic, came on the channel on Monday, and he kind of gave a big deep dive into Frankie's tactics, players that he would look to sign if he was Spurs manager and everything else. So I'll be releasing some videos in that, because obviously it was a 2-hour chat. So I'll be releasing some videos coming up soon, and then it'll be the weekly updates on a Thursday as usual. Getting on some brilliant guests. I've been very, very lucky with some of the people that have come on, and will continue to come on, I hope.
Lovely, mate. Absolutely delightful, mate. Whenever you want me to come on, mate. You haven't asked me yet, so I'm assuming you don't like me that much. But, you know, well, fuck it. You know, whatever. Fuck you very much.
That is not true. That is the first message I ever sent you.
Guys, yeah, Premier League fixtures are out tomorrow at 9 a.m. Get over to the Irish Hotspur tomorrow morning. You might get an upload from me before I go out, but I am meeting my dad for lunch tomorrow early doors. So I'll be back tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening. 5 o'clock, Devil's Advocate is on here with Dave, Big Irish Dave, and Big Johnny. The Devil's Advocate is coming back. And then you might get another late show like this, because I actually quite enjoyed this one. It was lovely. Little end of the stream poll update. I asked the question, who is your preference? Eze at 68 million, Simons at 55 million pound, or Semenyo at 70 million. And interestingly, 67% said Eze at 68. 27 want Simons at 55, and only 6% of you want Semenyo. And I feel like that's the one that was the most likely, given the environment that we're walking into right now. So it'll be fascinating to see how people feel about all that. Big up to Sean's dad. Big up to you, Phil. Good to see you, mate. Yeah, guys, keep an eye out for the big five, or the Spurs 5 rather. That's going to be coming at us, hopefully, very soon next week. It's going to be interesting to see how that whole thing works out, but expect fireworks for sure. But you'll see me tomorrow, as I say, either in the morning or certainly at 5 p.m. with Dave and Johnny, and we will leave it there. Luke, massive thank you to you, mate. Get over to Spotlight on Spurs, smash the granny out of the like button on your way out. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, bye-bye.